All right. Welcome to the OSEHRA VAPALS ELCAP working group call. This is Wednesday, April 17th, 2019. I will skip Rick's usual weather report just because, and we will get started. So my plan today is to just kind of go through the process that the nurse navigator would use in the VAPALS software to enroll a new patient and get their forms filled out. This is
Linda,
yes,
I hate to interrupt, but are you recording?
I am. Yay
Okay.
me! I remembered this time, but I appreciate the check. I think if you look at your GoToMeeting control panel down at the bottom, it might say whether or not the session is being recorded. But that is a good reminder to let everybody know that we are recording this, and when it's done, I will be putting it on YouTube. So any announcements or comments before I get started? Okay, well, it's nice to see y'all here. So, once this is kind of the opening page of the VAPALS ELCAP software. There, at the moment, I believe it needs to be opened as a browser page, but hopefully very soon there will be an option on CPRS to just go into the VAPALS into this page. And when you do, as I understand it, the patient that you have open in CPRS will be the patient in the lookup box here. Let's see, if we want to find a new patient that hasn't been enrolled already, we better not use the A's because lots of people seem to use those. Let's see. Let's see if there's any L's. There is. Okay, I think we will go with maybe not the 12-year-old here. We'll go with the Maya Langosh. And just in case you guys don't know, these are all synthetic patients that are made up from I believe it's a program that MITRE first started working on. George, do you want to tell, like, very briefly about Cynthia?
Yeah, Cynthia is a project funded by the Office of the National Coordinator, I believe, and executed by MITRE. That's open source, and it generates synthetic but realistic patients. And we've imported 1,000 synthetic patient demographics into the system so that we would have test data to be able to pick which are not real patients, and but which have a realistic demographic data.
Great, thank you, George.
Sure.
So you press submit, and this comes up. This is just in case you were going too fast and you realize at this point, uh-oh, that's not who I meant to enroll. But since this is who we picked, we'll go ahead and enroll this person. When you first enroll a person, the first thing that will come up is their intake form, which, not surprisingly, is the first form that needs to be filled out. At the moment, so the process of doing the intake is kind of a multi-step process, and the individual facility or nurse navigator can choose kind of how they keep track of the different parts of the intake process. In this case, we're going to say that the lung screening candidate was a referral from their primary care doctor. And the date of referral was Monday. And based on our review of their chart, they look like they are eligible. A pre-enrollment discussion is held when the patient is, sorry, I'm not quite as with it today as I wish I were, probably because of the dental visit. Anyway, before anything else can happen with the patient themselves actually has to be talked to get some information from. So we'll say that we're doing that today. Oh, that was interesting. Did you see that, George? It was the date of contact was today's date, but when I hit yes, it disappeared. We probably
No, I think that there's a data contact up at, I think, higher up in the screen, right?
well, there's the date of the referral.
Right, right.
But that's different than the date of contact for the pre-enrollment discussion. So that, by the way, is an example of how I test. I just go through and I am actually fairly good at noticing things like that. And that is where I find bugs. So we're going to say that we talked to this person on the telephone and that they are interested and want to find out what's going on. I don't know specifically what they're going to be putting in contact comments, but I believe that's in the user manual. Maybe it would be appointment, date, say. Okay. And then, so for our facility, I'm going to say that the submit buttons for chart eligibility and pre-enrollment are optional, so I'm not going to do them. So, okay, the person was so excited when we talked to them on the phone that they've now come in person to give us the rest of the information. We verified their address and their phone number, and according to their zip code, they are considered rural. You can see there's a little note here. Now, if it turns out that that doesn't seem to be the right answer because, you know, this person, their city is Boston. So that seems kind of urban to me. So I'm going to change it to urban. As I understand it, in this section, what usually happens is the nurse navigator will interview the person and basically get the answers to these things down here, but they'll just type them in here because it's quicker. And then after they're done talking, they'll go back and they will fill that out. I'm just going to do that. We'll say that they're a pack-a-day smoker, and they've been smoking for, how old is this person? 73? So they've been smoking for 50 years. Wow. It's a long time. This is if they've quit. If they haven't, you don't fill it out. What kind of smoking cessation information you've given them. If they've had a previous lung cancer diagnosis, which I was kind of surprised does not immediately disqualify them for this program. If they've had a previous lung cancer diagnosis and they're in remission, then I believe under the rules of the VAPALS program, they are still considered eligible. Informed decision-making discussion. If anybody wants to know what this is, I can tell you, but for now, I'm just going to say that yes, we did that, and that they do want to enroll. This is a little thing. And then down here is when we actually enroll them and say that they are active or not active. When we submit, it thinks about it and it produces a report, or a note rather, an intake encounter note. And it should have pretty much all the information that we put in for, okay, this looks like the information for the enrollment discussion. Now, currently, we don't have permission to send this directly to Vista for as a TIU note and or as health factors. So until we get to that point, the next step in the process will be to copy it to your clipboard. And then when you go to the CPRS and put it in there as this kind of TIU note. Once that's done, we can go back, and here is our new gal and her note so that we can refer back. Any questions on what I've covered so far? Okay. So if you want to do a new form, there's this handy button here, and these are your current things that you can choose from to have a new form. The background form is optional, but we will take a quick peek at it. And this is just well, as it says, it's background information. It's information that we can use to have a better idea of what their risks are for lung cancer, including just all sorts of history. And none of the questions on here is required, so you can fill out like one question or all of them. One of the things, I was just at the LCAP summit, the 40th LCAP summit, and one of the things that they were talking about, especially for VA, was considering, besides smoking history, what things might they want to include as risk factors for the VAPALS LCAP program once they get to a point where they have the capacity, pretty much. So like if they were had exposure to burn pits. This is something that it's looking like is a big risk factor for lung cancer. So here's where that can be recorded. So the first thing that's going to happen after they're enrolled is they will be set up for a CT, a low-dose CT scan. And this is the CT evaluation form. I think I'm just kind of whip through here. If instead of explaining everything, I will take a little bit of time while doing this. And if anybody has questions, then please ask instead of me just monologuing. So I'll do that a little bit too. So the nodule section, by the way, you can catalog up to 10 nodules, which if they have more nodules than that are, you know, above 6 millimeters in average diameter, yeah, the top 10 should do. So this is the baseline screening. They've never been screened before, so all of these nodules are going to be newly seen. I heard at the conference that the right lung is more likely to get nodules in it than the left lung, which I think the left lung is tends to be smaller, so maybe that makes sense. Oh, right, I have something to show, so I better do a couple more real quick. So those of you who do know about this stuff, if I do something that you're going, that doesn't make sense, feel free to let me know that I should put different answers. Actually, Okay, and I'm just going to add one more. Okay. So I want to make it so that this one is in between the size of this one and this one, so that we can check and see if the reordering works properly. Okay, so here there it is the other things besides possible lung cancer that could be found on the screens. And I won't go through all of them, but let's say, let's say that there's a possibility of breast cancer. And, oh, that's okay, I see. So the abnormalities have comments that you can put in. That you can then include in the report that you will get at the end. And if you have nothing that is related to that particular area, you don't have to fill it out. And now here we get to the impression. So we had nodules. There were other abnormalities. And this is any other remarks that the radiologist might want to put. The follow-up. We're going to see this person in a month after they've had a chance to have antibiotics. And I guess that's that. So lung RADS is a different protocol for categorizing and treating lung nodules that's slightly different than the ILCAP protocol, but those two protocols seem to be getting kind of closer and closer. In any case, I don't know enough to even, let's say they're a 4A. Why not? Any questions about the form so far? In the chat? Okay. So I have my chat closed so I can see the whole thing. That is a good question. Susan asked, does the radiologist get alerted if a patient is in the program prior to reading? And that's a process question I don't really know the answer to. I do know that at least one of the VA hospitals, they've tried to get it set up so that all low dose CT scans go through their lung screening program. So if they're able to make that stick, then all low-dose CT scans would be in the program, and so the radiologist would know. But I imagine they would get alerted because we would want them to fill out this form instead of reading the scan and doing their reports in the way that they have been doing. If they, which is, from what I understand, usually not as standardized as this form. So, Susan, I hope that answers your question at least as best as I can. Does anybody else have any know anything or have comments about that? Looking at our audience, I doubt that anybody else would know. So,
well, I could speak to a
okay,
way to do it. If
sure.
the intake form is put into Vista and it's a specific note title, the note title can be configured to send a notification off to a particular service like radiology. So it could be easily done in Vista, although I don't know how it could be done in the actual software, the LCAP VAPAL software.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Okay, so before I do this, I want to caution that the report that is going to be coming up is not totally, finally 100% approved. So there may be changes. This is just, usual disclaimer here. So, see here, it says the nodules have been sorted, which is what I was wanting them to do. Let's go back into the CT evaluation form so that we can go down and peek. So as you can see, they're sorted by size, by the solid size. And what was initially nodule 3 has been switched to nodule 2 so that they are now in order by size. Yay, that makes me happy because that was one of the requirements. So, case review, let's take a look at the report. So
This is Larry.
Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
I have a quick question about the sorting. So when the CT form is first filled out, sorting them by size is fine. However, are they resorted later? I mean, I presume that nodule once this is filed should always be nodule 1, even if there's some other nodule gets larger later.
That's correct. It's only on the baseline scan that they are sorted by size. After that, they stay in the same order.
Okay.
And that's been checked, and in fact, it works exactly as advertised, which is great.
Awesome.
Good job, Tom.
So I think I see a few of the things that Dr. Chenoweth may have had comments about. For example, down here where it says emphysema minimal, there's no space between the colon and the minimal. So, and I hear that he gave us some good copy editing feedback. Nodule cyst. Okay. So that's that. This is something that the developers and Claudia and the other radiologists on the team have been working on quite a bit to make sure that the wording is just right. But once we're done looking at the CT evaluation report, I think this is, okay, there we go. Can go back there. Other forms that I don't know that I will really get into today are the follow-up form. And this is kind of like, as I understand it, a mini intake form for every time they come in after the first time. This form has to be filled out to look for the changes and things like that. And then there's a form for if there's a biopsy or a PET evaluation. And then the intervention form is one that I know the guys have worked on quite a bit, but we'll try again. Okay, it didn't want me to do the intervention form at the moment. Now, the other part of VAPALS ELCAP that we've developed has been reporting. So things like which participants need follow-up. And you can see this is my person that I just entered. And they're going to need a full diagnostic CT in a month. So this tells the nurse navigator what is coming up in the next month that's due. I'm kind of surprised there's not more here, but it's very possible that our test patients don't have a follow-up scheduled for this month.
This
Go
is
ahead.
Larry. If you change the dates, it will give you a bigger list. If you extend the date.
Okay. Let's It doesn't want me to go out further, but we could go back. So there's a few more. This one will have quite a few. This looks like something that we're working on because the this incomplete form here should say the name of the form instead of the
It does on Avicenna. So
okay.
This is running an old copy of the report.
Okay. Cool. Anyway, enrollment's a good one to look at as well. So this would be everybody who's enrolled. I'm not sure what it is sorted by though. And when you're in production, you probably would not have as many empty spaces because this is, us playing around and leaving a lot of stuff that is not done that the nurse navigator would do because it's like, okay, I tested this thing. That's all I needed to do. I'm gone off to the next synthetic patient. Any question about the reports? Oh, this would take a wonder. Okay, so in that case, is there anything else that you guys in particular want to show or see? And no questions? Okay. So unless there's anything else that people are wanting, which it doesn't sound like there are, I'm going to give you back 24 minutes of your day. So I will be putting this up this afternoon, and have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
See you guys.
Thanks, Linda.
Thanks a lot.